We got some breaking news, guys, and Errol Spence, the big fish, just tweeted on social media, and this time is related to boxing. And I am glad because I am an Errol Spence fan. But ever since Errol Spence lost to Terrence Crawford, he kinda stayed out of social media and rarely posted anything, not even for boxing. But I noticed a lot of fighters that get a big payday like that with Terrence Crawford, they do take a pretty long vacation. But it really depends on the person, because Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis made a big amount of money. But Tank Davis took a long vacation and Ryan Garcia is already on his second fight after Tank Davis. But nevertheless, it did not seem that Errol Spence was focusing on boxing lately. But Errol just changed that. He said he is headed to Vegas to get front row seats for TIMTSZYU versus Fundora. And he says he wants to face the winner. And this is what we are going to be talking about next. But before we get into that, if you guys are not subscribed, please punch and knock out that subscription button. That way you'll never see it again. And ding that notification bell. That way you won't miss any of my new boxing videos. Alright guys, let's get to the round. Ding ding. Okay champs, let's get started. Originally, the fight was supposed to headline TIMTSZYU versus Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman had to pull out of the fight because he had an injured bicep. But Jermell Charlo has not been fighting in a while and he vacated the belt. And it was supposed to be for the vacant WBC title. Jermell Charlo, another fighter that took a long vacation after getting a big payday. Last time he fought was against Canelo Alvarez for undisputed versus undisputed. What I'm kind of tripping on was that this fight with Keith Thurman was not gonna be for the title and it was going to be at a catch weight of 155. That is only 1 pound from making 154. Why didn't Keith Thurman want to fight for the belt? To be honest, I believe Keith Thurman has been injured for a while. And I don't think he wants to fight for any belts because with belts come mandatories. So if he beat TIMTSZYU and won the belt, he probably would have had to face Terrence Crawford next, or somebody dangerous that will expose Keith Thurman, because Keith Thurman only fights like every 2 years and he is very selective and choosy with his opponents. But after Keith Thurman got injured, everybody thought the fight was going to be cancelled because I believe it took place 13 or 14 days from the fight. And it was going to be hard to get a replacement opponent that's a high quality fighter. But the PBC did a decent job to salvage the fight, as they got Sebatian Fundora to replace Keith one-time Thurman. Now this fight will reveal if the triangle theory works, but most of the time the triangle theory does not work. But there are special fighters like Floyd Mayweather or Sugar Ray Robinson. No matter who they face, you know who's gonna win. Imagine Sugar Ray Robinson versus Floyd Mayweather at a welterweight fight. Now that's my dream fight. But Brian Mendoza and Sebatian Fundora already had a fight, and Sebatian Fundora was beating Brian Mendoza until Mendoza knocked him out. So he caught him with a lucky punch. But if that punch was not lucky and it would have gone decision, I'm pretty sure Fundora would have won. But this is boxing and one punch can change everything, as you can see. Now TIMTSZYU already fought Brian Mendoza and beat Brian Mendoza by decision. That fight was actually pretty good. But TIMTSZYU is gonna fight Fundora in only 12 days notice. And that is the reason I believe this is a 50-50 fight. Because TIMTSZYU was training for Keith Thurman, not Fundora. And I believe he only had a 12-day notice. And I personally thought TIMTSZYU was just gonna go in there against Fundora without training for him, because it was very close to the fight, and if you train or spar, you could get injured. But he flew in some sparring partners to imitate Fundora's style. Now if TIMTSZYU beats Fundora with only 12 days notice, this guy is the real deal. Because I doubt he got really tall opponents to imitate Fundora. But he could have got other opponents that are in a higher weight class that are that tall. Because nobody in that weight class is that tall. And you cannot imitate tallness unless you got some high heels. But if TIMTSZYU does beat Fundora, Terrence Crawford wants a shot against TIMTSZYU. And Terrence Crawford already activated his mandatory to face TIMTSZYU next. But what if Fundora pulls up the upset? He will have both belts. Then it will be Terrence Crawford versus Fundora. Unless TIMTSZYU and Fundora have a rematch clause, because this fight can go either way. And if there is a rematch, I expect TIMTSZYU to be Fundora, because this time he will have a full camp to train for Fundora. And if Tim loses to Fundora, I believe it was because it was a 12-day replacement. And it's not like their replacement with a fighter with a similar size. I believe Fundora is way too big for that division. I have no idea how he makes weight. But for the sake of the video, let's say TIMTSZYU beats Fundora and Terrence Crawford wants a shot at TIMTSZYU. Well, TIMTSZYU's manager stated that they are willing to vacate the belt so they will not be mandatories for Terrence Crawford. Then they can secure a mega fight showdown with Errol the True Spence Jr. So that's when I believe Errol Spence hears this and he says he is gonna make a trip to Las Vegas to see the fight front row. He wants the winner between Fundora versus TIMTSZYU. And don't get me wrong, I am an Errol Spence fan, but he took a beating with Terrence Crawford. And he had 2 car accidents, and he is Mr. Layoff and Mr. No Tune-Up. He also just had cataract surgery. So I would not put him in there with TIMTSZYU or Terrence Crawford. I believe he should take a softer touch because he was a 147 fighter. And maybe he should not fight the winner, at least he should fight the loser. I think the winner should fight Terrence Crawford. And they could have like a little tournament. The winners fight the winners and the losers fight the losers. But I believe Errol Spence just wants to be a part of boxing because he does not even have a trainer right now. As him and Derek James split because of some money issues. But I hope him and Derek James can work something out because they made a really good team. Errol Spence did lose to Terrence Crawford, one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. There is no shame on that. But let's just say they don't work out anything and Errol Spence has to have a new trainer. Who do you think he will get as a new trainer? And will you really put Errol Spence with a new trainer on his first fight with somebody like Terrence Crawford? Because in most cases, it takes either 1 or 2 fights for the trainer and the boxer to get acclimated with each other. I say get at least 1 fight in there with a softer touch with a new trainer. But it seems Errol Spence wants to come back to boxing because he posted a video of a wounded shark, basically saying that's him. And on that same picture, he said he wants the winner of Fundora versus TIMTSZYU. Remember guys, subscribe, like the video, share the video. That's it for me, champs. I gotta roll.